Next time you brief a mission, Lieutenant, the general smirked, loud enough for the entire hangar to hear, try doing it in English, we can all understand. The chuckles came immediately, sharp, cruel, echoing off the steel walls as the sun dipped below the tarmac, flooding the scene with long, mocking shadows. Lieutenant Tran stood rigid before her unit, posture straight as a blade, hands clenched tightly behind her back. She had barely finished her mission debrief when the general interrupted with his smirk of superiority, mocking the accent she carried proudly, one forged by a childhood that began in Vietnamese refugee camps before a long, hard journey into American public housing, where she learned resilience by necessity. The accent hovered in the air like smoke, but she said nothing. Silence wasn't submission. It was discipline, the kind that saturates a fighter who has learned to let actions speak louder than words. Around her, junior officers exchanged glances, some embarrassed, others agreeing with the general's disdain. To them, she was the diversity hire, a polished face used in posters, pretty and foreign, but not feared. The general, wearing 2 silver stars and dragging centuries of tradition like armor, turned to his aide and muttered, "Let's see if her flying's as broken as her grammar." He'd set this tone deliberately, but by dawn, his smug confidence was about to crash. At first light, 3 fighter teams stood ready for Operation Scorch fire, a high-risk, low-altitude mission across a simulated enemy theater so realistic it pulsed like a living war zone. Their objective, reach Point Echo, execute a precision strike, and evade simulated air defenses. The software tracked their biometric responses, matching computer-generated threats to human panic thresholds. Not once in memory had anyone done it under 45 minutes. Tran volunteered to fly first. Ground crew whispered bets behind her. $20 she bails by checkpoint 2. She's great at theory. Watch her freeze when the alarms sound. Engines started and everything shifted. Her eyes narrowed, glinting with calm strategy. Her hands danced across the console with intuitive fluency, breath measured and low. Then she took off like wind slicing through danger. What followed was no mere exercise, it was surgical domination. She carved through mountain valleys like they were rivers her spirit had shaped, folding the flight path into anatomical precision. Enemy radar tracked her. Ping. She vanished. Simulated surface-to-air missiles screamed. She weaved through them like a ghost through walls. The room erupted as she dove into a canyon so narrow her wingtips cut within 5 feet of rock faces. No pilot had dared attempt that in the sim. General Donaghy leaned forward in the control center, brow furrowed. One analyst whispered, "She's rewriting the nav grid." Another replied, "Improvising, not even following the plan." When she hit Point Echo, targeting was flawless, 0 deviation across diagnostics. Control station lights blinked in disbelief as her strike executed perfectly on virtual coordinates. But she wasn't done. Instead of taking the standard exit route, she dove through an undocumented simulation patch, a data-blind zone considered too volatile for human reaction time. Tran punched through in 12 heartbeats, exploit code broken, simulation fooled. Then the timer froze, 27 minutes, 16 seconds. She didn't just beat the record, she obliterated the 28-year benchmark set by the general himself. The room fell into dust-silent awe. Sweat streaked her war-painted brow when she shut down the engine and climbed out. No grin. No flourish. She removed her helmet with quiet dignity, saluted the control tower, and walked toward the hangar like she was walking home. The general stood, waiting. He didn't speak. He simply stared, mouth compressed in disbelief. Then, as if the years of rigid tradition cracked and fell, he lifted his hand in a crisp salute. She returned it without hesitation. "Lieutenant," he finally said, voice earnest, "that was the purest, most precise run I've ever seen." She looked him in the eyes. "With respect, sir," she replied calmly, "I didn't come here to speak perfect English. I came here to fly." Silence thickened behind them. The same officers who mocked her words earlier now watched her like they were watching history. She wasn't a banner or a hashtag. She was storm-wrought skill, quiet integrity, and undeniable strength. Suddenly, they understood. The accent was never a weakness. It was evidence, a scar of survival and triumph. Later that day, her name was carved onto the base's record wall in polished steel. Lieutenant L. Tran, 2716, June 19, 25. Beneath that, a small plaque from the general read, "Skill speaks louder than words. Respect earned." Proud yet never boastful, she stood before the plaque, fingertips brushing the cold metal, her reflection shadowed in the steel. No cameras, no speeches, just a moment of silent reckoning. Around her, the base hummed again with routine, but something changed. Respect had been rewritten into the base's foundation. And in that hangar at sunset, Lieutenant Tran didn't transform into something greater. She revealed what had always been, carved clearly into silence and broken records. She walked off into the golden wash of dusk, leaving behind a lesson stamped into the steel bones of the base. Before we end this story, let us know in the comment, where are you watching from? If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel and hit that like button and drop a karma in the comments below.